Welcome to another CHRO Conversation, hosted by the Center for Executive Succession at the Darla Moore School of Business. I'm your host, Anthony Nyberg, and today we are viewing a compilation of interviews on the role of data analytics in HR. In this video, we get to learn from Sean Woodruff, the Executive Vice President and Chief People, Culture, and Communications Officer of Lincoln Financial. When he did this interview, he was the CHRO of TIAA. Lucien Alziari, the Executive Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer of Prudential Financial. Christian Meisner, the CHRO of GE Aerospace, and when he performed this interview, he was the CHRO of Kaiser Permanente. Tom Plath, the SVP of HR and Global Citizenship at International Paper. And Monique Harena, who is the Chief Colleague Experience Officer at American Express, and Ernest Marshall, CHRO of Eaton.
From an HR perspective, data is essential. So I'll just take the process of recruitment as an example. We tracked and measure our applicant flow. What is the representation of applicants that apply for a particular role? Among that application cohort, what percent of those that apply get a first interview? What percent get a second interview? And when you look at we talked before about diversity and representation, is we also track and ensure that when an applicant is being interviewed at TIAA, that the interview panel is also a diverse panel. We track internal career mobility. We track and measure how employees get rated to ensure that there are no anomalies or disparities in terms of rating distribution. We do analysis around pay equity. We want to ensure, as an example, that women are paid on a like-for-like comparable basis than their male counterpart for the same job and the same performance rating and the same experience. So we're a bit incessant about analytics and data.
Well, I think data is important for any discipline in any business. I mean, facts are helpful, and the more facts you know, generally, the better the decision you will make if you've got the good decision-making mechanisms as well. So, I don't know. I've just found flying blind doesn't seem to help either. So it's kind of one of nature's laws that data is a helpful thing to have.
And if you look at the cost of employing the wages and the benefits, it is a huge piece of the overall financial performance of the organization. And so any big element of your business, right, you want to have as many insights into as possible. People are also really complex, as we know, hence the whole need for an HR function. And so the ability of trending data and really having insights into your organization, into the people in your organization, can be incredibly powerful, especially as you get into more predictive parts of analytics. And I would say one interesting example where it's working quite well is in our employee engagement platform. We've got a really deep, 2 times a year employee survey with a very deep analytical engine, algorithmic engine underneath it that allows us to actually look at both outcome questions, things you want to see in your workforce, but then those elements that actually are the statistical drivers. And so we're able to apply the analytics that says if you want to drive retention, which is what a lot of companies are interested in, we actually can isolate the 3 or 4 most important elements within the survey, and you action plan on those. And then we can drill, and that's a different answer within different parts of the organization. So you can get a really nice fine tooth comb, if you will, as to what are those levers you can pull locally to drive engagement.
I think that one of the challenges that HR has had, the nature of our work is very qualitative. That's just the nature. We work with individuals and people and their careers and philosophies, et cetera. there has to be an element that's quantitative. And so we try to drive that through in every area. Obviously compensation, labor is very, very prone to heavy analytics. There's a couple of really fun cases that I'd love to share with you in executive leadership development where we're using analytics. One of the things that we've discovered is that there is, for people who are ultimately going to be top leaders in the company, there is a track that they tend to follow over time. And you can analyze by their age, length of service, against where they are in their career, where are they in that trajectory? And we track our high potential talent, cluster them, establish an upper and lower control limit, and ask the question, are we on track or not on track with developing talent that's going to get us to our future? Very, very powerful. The other end, it's a related analytical tool that we use, is we've discovered that over time, the graph of someone's career development, if they move up too quickly in an organization, it can flatten with 15 to 20 years left in their career. We use that analytics to ask the question, how do we continue that trajectory? Are there things earlier in career we have to do in order to make sure that that trajectory is sustainable? Those wouldn't normally be the way that we use analytics, but we've discovered that when you take a topic that's important to you, asking the question, how do we analyze this for improvement and for success? Those are really critical questions and really applicable in so many different areas.
I think it's not enough to just say, this is my opinion. And that's any area of the business, including HR. So HR is sort of blessed with a wealth of data. We have all of this colleague data, and we should take a look at it and have it inform our decisions. So we do, for example, a lot of colleague listening, as we call it. So that's surveys in various forms. It could be the engagement survey, a lot of pulse surveying we're doing. However we are listening to colleagues, even informally in the HR function, because we're out with colleagues every day at all levels of the organization globally. So we get a lot of intelligence and feed that back. Exit interview, onboarding experience, learning and training evaluations and experience. So we have a lot of data around what the candidate experience is like for internal folks who are moving around and developing across Amex, and also external people, and what is their experience like. So we really want to have a colleague experience that's great. We are world class in customer service, and we should also have colleagues that have a great experience day in, day out. You have a lot better chance of doing that if you actually have data on what's actually happening in that experience day in, day out. And then I can be more targeted in where we spend our time partnering with our colleagues and with the business to help them achieve their outcomes, and how we can improve that experience. It could be as simple as making something easier for you day in, day out to get done, so you have more time to focus on our customers. So that end-to-end process improvement and being data-driven and improving that experience and that level of satisfaction and engagement is something we take very seriously. And it gets really fun when you start to triangulate some of the data and see how these things come together, and can get a little bit predictive on what makes someone stay or have a really great experience, feel engaged, feel like they belong at American Express.
It's one of the most important aspects of, I think, the HR organization at Eaton. We have a terrific analytics leader, Wendy Hirsch, and if something happened to her, the people would just revolt. She's done such a nice job. And so from an example standpoint, she is not only doing great HR work with analytics, she's also helping the businesses. And we've done some really interesting analytics around diversity, number one. And my view on diversity is we think about how much data we show. And what I mean by, we say, oh, our diversity increased by 0.5% over last year, and it's a percent better than the last 5 years. I like to expose the data. What's the data not telling us? Or what's the data telling us that we're not paying enough attention to? And that's when you get up a bit more granular inside the data pool. And that's what we're really doing. The board has been, our board has been specifically or particularly interested in how we really aggregate the data around diversity and show what actions it's driving. So, for example, one of the things that I gave you two examples we did in diversity. Another one is, predictability on why people leave. An incredible analysis has been done on data, so much so there's even a scale that says, hey, if you have a new manager, that person or that group's got a 250% chance of leaving. You can go down the scale and say, but if you do this, you can reduce that by 90%. I mean, it's an amazing, and we've done that in various parts of the organization. But that data is powerful. It drives the right actions, and the leaders have been so impressed with it, they've put teams around it to really go focus on these things. And we've actually seen a positive correlation with attrition going down as a result of doing these studies. And let's face it, oftentimes we get tagged with not being numbers friendly, right? And so we want to remove that stigma. I am a huge proponent of analytics, and I say that because I want to make this point. We were talking one day, and when he came to me, she said, look, I want to change the name of the group. She said, I want to make it not workforce analytics, but workforce insights. And the reason for that, and I love it, is, to your point, analytics becomes about just presenting numbers. Insights starts to become, how do we take those insights and drive outcomes? And so now we're a totally different focused organization just by shifting the word a bit. Now the body of work under it is supporting it, but it was one of the initial hires I made when I took this role at Eaton, because I just find it that important. And it has proven to be unbelievably accretive to the work we're doing in HR for the company.
You just listened to another CHRO conversation. Today, we were treated to thoughts from Sean Woodruff, Lucian Alziari, Christian Meisner, Tom Plath, Monique Harena, and Ernest Marshall. These extraordinary business leaders shared ideas and thoughts about how data analytics is essential for a strong HR function. On behalf of all of us who are associated with the Master of Human Resources program and the Center for Executive Succession here at the University of South Carolina, thank you for joining us.